Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Dwayne The Rock Johnson here, and Evan McPherson can marry my daughter. Like, this man is insane. In 3 postseason games, 12 for 12 field goal attempts. In 3 games! He's kicked 4 field goals in each game, and his team is 3-0, and also he hasn't missed an extra point. This man is a god. He can marry my daughter. Anyway, back to your regularly scheduled video. So yesterday were the AFC and the NFC Championship games. So with that, I now know that the Super Bowl matchup is going to be Bengals versus Rams. And now 12 out of the 13 NFL playoff games this season have happened, and a victor has been decided. I'm going to make a separate video for the Super Bowl, but now this is pretty much just like me reviewing every playoff game that's happened so far and what happened and, everything. Reviewing, I guess. I don't know. This is sort of like the first weekly football updates episode since over a year ago. I didn't make those this year because last year they got no views and they sucked, so sue me. Anyway, but that's the seizure. Wow, that's enough for the introduction to this video. Let's get into the first game, which was Bengals versus Raiders in the wildcard round. Alright, yeah, this game had pretty much nothing but field goals. Alright, so in the first quarter, Las Vegas opened the scoring with a field goal on their opening drive to go up 3-0, and then the Bengals actually did score a touchdown, and then scored 2 field goals and went up 13-3 early in the second quarter. Las Vegas kicked another field goal, so now it's 13-6, and then both teams passed when there was 2 minutes left in the half. Both teams scored a touchdown to make it 20-13 at halftime. So yeah, a lot of field goals. Yet another field goal happened in the third quarter with Bengals Evan McPherson, the GOAT, to bring the Bengals up 22-13. Fourth quarter, Raiders field goal 23-16, and another Bengals field goal to make it 26-16. Raiders kicked this field goal with 3 minutes left to cut the deficit to 7 to make it 26-19. And then they got a first and goal at the Bengals, I think 7, and they didn't get in. And so the Bengals won that game 26-19 as the final score, and the Bengals moved on to the divisional round of the playoffs. Yeah. In this game, the Raiders had more total yards than the Bengals by 80, and they had more first downs than the Bengals. They just had 2 turnovers, and the Bengals had 0. And the Bengals had slight advantage of time of possession, even though it was pretty much nothing. It was 32-28, so that's pretty much no difference. But, yep, that's it for the first game. Next game. Alright, next game, you got the Patriots going into Buffalo in 1-degree weather to take on the Buffalo Bills and getting absolutely blown out of the water by the Buffalo Bills who performed pretty much a perfect game. Never punted, never kicked a field goal, never turned the ball over. I think they were the first team to do that in a playoff game since 1980 or something ridiculous like that. The only mishap the Bills had the whole game was that not 1 but 2 of their extra points got blocked. So instead of scoring 49 points, they only scored 47, but they still blew out the Patriots. First of all, the Bills, at the end of the first quarter, this game was over. It was 14-0 at the end of the first quarter, and going into this game, people thought these teams are fairly evenly matched. Bills scored 4 straight touchdowns and had the 3rd extra point blocked, so late in the second quarter, they had a 27-0 lead, but that was before halftime. And then the Patriots finally decided to do something on offense and scored a field goal before the half to make it 27-3. The Bills scored another touchdown and had the extra point blocked again in the third quarter, 33-3. Then New England finally decided to score the ball into the end zone on a 4th and goal. Kendrick Bourne touchdown reception, 33-10 now. Bills scored again. So now it's 47-10. They scored twice. And then the Patriots scored a sad garbage time touchdown, an even sadder one than the last one, on another Kendrick Bourne 4th down touchdown reception to make the final score 47-17. The Bills dominated in every single aspect of this game. They outgained the Patriots by 200 yards. Actually, that's actually better than you think it'd be. If you blow out a team by 30 points, you'd expect it to be super lopsided, but the Patriots actually didn't play a horrible game. They played a pretty bad game, but not a horrible game. Or maybe the Bills just played a really good game. But nevertheless, the Bills blew the Patriots out of the water, 47-17 final score. So yeah. Alright, the next game of wildcard weekend was the Eagles versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this game, similar to the last one, was over in the first quarter, except it wasn't as much of a blowout as the other one was. But it still wasn't even close. First quarter, again, at the end of the first quarter, it was 14-0 Buccaneers. Scored a field goal in the second to go 17-0 at halftime. Third quarter, scored 2 more touchdowns to go up 31-0 entering the fourth. And then Philadelphia finally decided to put up points, and they scored a touchdown, and then they scored another touchdown and a 2-point conversion 31-15 final score, and the Buccaneers scored no points in the fourth quarter. So, if the Eagles had actually scored points not in the fourth quarter, they might have actually had a chance in this game. This game was 31-0, and, the Eagles weren't going to win this game. Everyone knew the Buccaneers were going to win this game. 31-15 was actually closer than a lot of people predicted, but then again, it was 31-0 at one point. Both of Philadelphia's touchdowns were just garbage time. But the interesting thing is, when you look at the offensive yards, it's pretty much equal. It's 339 to 349. It was just the turnovers. Again, they killed it. Philadelphia had 3 turnovers. Tampa Bay had 0. So, everyone knew what was going to happen in this game. But, we just had to play it just so we could. But Buccaneers won 31-15 and moved on to the, divisional round. Cool. Ha, ha, ha. Next up, you got my personal favorite game of Wild Card Weekend. The 49ers going into Dallas to face off, you guessed it, the Dallas Cowboys. See how that happened? 49ers, perfect first drive. They went 75 yards in 7 plays in 4 minutes to take a 7-0 lead early in the first quarter. And then the game was pretty much over. San Francisco did 2 more, well, it wasn't over, but San Francisco after that kicked 2 straight field goals to take a 13-0 lead. Dallas finally decided to score a touchdown on an Amari Cooper 20-yard reception. 13-7 game. San Francisco kicked yet another field goal before halftime to take a 16-7 lead into halftime. Third quarter, like most third quarters, was boring. It was only 1 touchdown from San Francisco to take a 23-7 lead. Dallas did, make a run for it in the fourth quarter. They scored a field goal and then a touchdown to cut the lead to 23-17. And they had the ball in San Francisco's territory with 1 minute left, and then ran a QB scramble up the middle with no timeouts and 14 seconds left. Why? Honestly, I don't know, because they could have had at least one chance if they just heaved it to the end zone or something. But they had no timeouts. They didn't get the spike off in time because Dak Prescott didn't know that the ref had to touch the ball before you spike it. So that happened. Final score 23-17, and the Cowboys have been a terrible franchise overall in the playoffs for the last 25 years. I don't know if you know this, but a fun fact: in the past 25 seasons, Mark Sanchez has more playoff wins than the entire Cowboys franchise. That's not a lot. That's actually, I'm being serious. But yeah, they lost in the first round for the 5th year in a row. 23-17, 49ers in favor of the Dallas Cowboys. Also, that made the 49ers the only team in Wild Card Weekend to be the road team and win their game. So that's pretty nice. Out of the 6 games, that happened only once, and it was the 49ers. Cool. Alright, next game of Wild Card Weekend, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Arrowhead to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. There was actually no scoring in the first quarter of this game, and then there was a lot in the second quarter. Pittsburgh actually scored first. TJ Watt returned a fumble for a touchdown to go up 7-0. And that's where the Steelers' highlights end. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is a thing, apparently, and the Steelers definitely realized that late in this game. They went up 7-0, and then they were down 35-7. Patrick Mahomes threw 5 touchdown passes in a span of 20 minutes of game time. Actually less. It was in a span of 10 to 15 minutes of game time. He threw 5 touchdown passes. That's insane. And that lasted from the, mid-second quarter to mid-third quarter. So then the lead was 35-7. And then Pittsburgh actually did get a drive going. They scored a touchdown to cut the lead to 35-14. And then Travis Kelce threw a touchdown pass and gave Kansas City a 42-14 lead. Pittsburgh scored a garbage time touchdown to cut the lead to 42-21, and that was the last score of the game. They had the ball, they were driving. They had an 80-yard drive at the end of the game that stalled out the 3-yard line. They didn't take a timeout because they didn't have any. So it could have been 42-28 if he had just thrown it into the end zone instead of inbounds at the 3-yard line where he knew he would get tackled. But yeah, it wouldn't have mattered because Chiefs still would have won this game. Everyone knew the Chiefs were going to win this game. They actually had a less than 50% win probability at one point when they were down 7-0 early in the second quarter, and then Patrick Mahomes happened. So yeah, Pittsburgh never really had a chance in this game. Oh, wow, that's kind of weird. Time of possession, exactly 30 minutes for each team. 30-0-0. That's cool. But, yep, Chiefs moving on to the divisional round, blowing out the Pittsburgh Steelers just as they had done in the regular season. All right, cool. All right, final game of Wild Card Weekend. You've got the Arizona Cardinals and Los Angeles Rams facing off at SoFi Stadium. A divisional rivalry, and it was never even close. Rams scored the first 3 touchdowns, and that was the score at halftime, 21-0. OBJ scored a touchdown in the first quarter, and then Matthew Stafford sneaked it for a touchdown, and then Kyler Murray did whatever this is and threw a pick 6 while trying to avoid a safety. So instead of scoring 2 points, his team scored 7. So that's nice. His opponent team scored 7. What does that say? So yeah, 21 to nothing at halftime. Rams scored yet again in the third quarter to take a 28 to nothing lead. And then finally the Cardinals decided to get on the board. James Conner ran in for a touchdown. For some reason they went to 2. For some reason they went for 2 and they got it. So now the score is 28 to 8. Rams kicked the field goal. Cardinals kicked the field goal. Rams kicked the field goal. So that's their final score, 34 to 11. It was never close, and these teams have split their season series, just like the Patriots and Bills, and this was a blowout, just like the Patriots and Bills. So that happened. Yeah, I'm really mad this wasn't scoregami because if Kyler Murray just taken the safety, I'm pretty sure that would have been scoregami. And the Rams were driving again at the end of the game. They could have kicked another field goal to make it 37 to 11, which would have been scoregami, but they punted at like Arizona's 40 for some reason. So that happened. Final score 34 to 11. I can't do anything about it. But the Rams moving on to the divisional round, and that is it for Wild Card Weekend. Cool. All right, 6 game done. 6 games to go. First game of divisional weekend was when the Cincinnati Bengals, who came with fresh off a win against the Raiders, came in to take on the number 1 seeded Tennessee Titans in Tennessee. They had never won a road playoff game ever until this game. They scored the first 6 points of the game on 2 Evan McPherson field goals. Shocker, because he can date my daughter. He kicked a ton of field goals in the postseason. I don't know what I just said there, but Cincinnati had a 6-0 lead after 1 due to 2 field goals. Then the Titans scored a touchdown on a Derrick Henry run, but then they got a penalty on the the extra point against Cincinnati, and so they had it from the 1 and elected to go for 2, and they missed. So now it's a 6-6 tie. And then Bengals tacked on another field goal before halftime to make it a 6-9 game at halftime, which is pretty nice. All right, then the Bengals came out hot in the third quarter. They scored a touchdown on their opening drive of the half to take a 16-6 lead. Titans kicked a field goal to make it 16-9, and then they Tannehill just yeeted a bomb to A.J. Brown, who got it with one hand in the corner of the end zone. It was a great play. But now the game is tied at 16-16, and it looks like we're up for a great fourth quarter, right? No, not really, because there were no points scored in the fourth quarter until it was zeros in the clock. No points until the Bengals drove at the end of the game. Tannehill threw a terrible interception off of a deflection, and the Bengals got a pass to Jamar Chase to get in the field goal range, and Evan McPherson, Money Mac, he can date my daughter. He hit a game-winning field goal at the end of regulation, 52-yarder, 19-16 victory for the Cincinnati Bengals, and they move on to the AFC Championship game somehow. Now we're going to what is undoubtedly the most boring game of the entire playoffs. You got the 49ers coming fresh off a win, coming into Lambeau Field to take on the number 1 seed Green Bay Packers. This looked like it was going to be a blowout 5 minutes into the game because Green Bay scored a touchdown on the first possession to take a 7-0 lead early in the first, and then decided to do literally absolutely nothing for the entire rest of the game. That was the only score at halftime. They scored a touchdown on the first drive to take it 7-0, and then it was 7-0 at halftime, even though I think, Packers attempted another field goal before halftime, but it was blocked because Packers' special teams moment. Third quarter featured only 1 field goal from the 49ers, which was their first score of the game, to cut the lead to 7-3. And then the 49ers, no, not the 49ers, Packers scored another field goal. Not another field goal, it was the first one, because the first one was blocked. What am I saying? So now the lead is again at 7, and it is 10-3 game. And there's 5 minutes left in the game. It doesn't look like San Francisco's going to do anything, because they haven't done anything the whole game so far. And then Packers' special teams moment strikes again. They had a blocked punt, and the 49ers returned it for a touchdown. So now it's a 10-10 game with like 3 minutes left. The Packers, I don't even know what they did, but somehow the 49ers got the ball back. And then Robbie Gould kicked the field goal at the end of regulation to win the game 13-10. 23 combined points. That's really boring, but at least it was an exciting ending. But yeah, Packers special teams pretty much kept them from entering the NFC Championship game. Big brain moment though. Packers can't lose in the NFC Championship if they don't get to the NFC Championship. Mind blown. Yeah, the Packers led in pretty much every aspect of this game. They had more first downs, they had more total offensive yards, they had more time of possession. They just had that one blocked punt return touchdown. Their punt was blocked and returned for a touchdown. That just killed them. So yeah, 49ers won against Packers in Lambeau, and both number 1 seeds getting knocked out in the first round by 10-7 teams. So I don't know how that happened. These playoffs have been insane, but it happened. So, yep, that's it. Next game. All right, third divisional round matchup. We got the Los Angeles Rams going into Tampa to take on Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Both of these teams fresh off a win in the last round. And this game looked like it was going to be a blowout, but then Tom Brady happened, and then the team that was blowing them out won anyway. But I'll explain that later. I'll explain that now, actually. Rams took the lead 3-0 on a field goal, and then scored a touchdown to take a 10-0 lead in the first quarter. Buccaneers managed to score a field goal at the end of this first quarter to take a 10-3 lead. Rams had a 10-3 lead after the first quarter. That's it. And then Cooper Kupp had a touchdown on a blown coverage 70-yard bomb on 3rd and 20 to take a 17-3 lead, so that was quite lucky. Rams kicked the field goal to go up 20-3, and they had a chance to score another touchdown or field goal, but then Cam Akers fumbled to the 1-yard line before halftime. So the Rams were only, quote only, up 20-3 at halftime. And then the Rams came right back out and scored yet another touchdown, so now the lead is 27-3, and that's why they decided to stop playing offense. Buccaneers kicked the field goal to make it 27-6, and then not one, not two, but three straight touchdowns from the Buccaneers. 21 straight points, and now the game is tied at 27. Mike Evans caught a bomb. Leonard Fournette rushed for 2 touchdowns. Now the game is tied. But then, Cooper Kupp, who can also marry my daughter, caught 2 straight very long passes from Matthew Stafford to get them in the short field goal range, and the Rams kicker, he made it at the end of regulation, take a 30-27 win. So this game was, again, very exciting in Divisional round, just like every game in Divisional round, except unlike the other 2 games, this game actually had points. Next game had quite a lot of points as well. In fact, they've had, the 3rd most points of the year. But we'll get to that game eventually. That game can take a while to explain. But Rams taking down Tom Brady, and Tom Brady is not going to win the 2nd straight title. So, yep, and the Rams punched their ticket to the NFC Championship game. Yeah. And now you've got the game of the year. And that's not like a joke. This was genuinely the game of the year. There's one game left to be played in the entire football season, and that's the Super Bowl. So far, I think I can very safely say that Bills versus Chiefs in the divisional round was the game of the year, okay? Both teams scored 1 touchdown in the first and second quarter. All right, Devin Singletary rushed for it to give a 7-0 lead to the Bills on their opening drive. Patrick Mahomes threw 2 straight touchdown passes to give Chiefs a 14-7 lead. And then the Bills scored another touchdown as time was running low in the second quarter to take a 14-14 tie at halftime. So you looked like you had the ingredients for a good game, but not like a great game. It looked like it was going to be close, but it didn't look like it was going to be 78 combined points, because there were only 28 at halftime. So they're not going to score 50 points the rest of the game, are they? Right? Both defenses aren't going to collapse, right? Yeah. Cool. About that, the Chiefs actually had a chance to kick a field goal at the end of the first half, but Harrison Butker's leg betrayed him, and he missed. And then they kicked the field goal anyway at the start of the third quarter to take a 17-14 lead. And then they scored again on a Mecole Hardman touchdown run, but they missed the extra point because Harrison Butker's leg betrayed him again. So their lead is, instead of 24-14, it's 23-14 in favor of the Chiefs. And then the Bills had a one-play 75-yard bomb to Gabriel Davis, 75 yards, touchdown. So now the lead is only 23-21, and we're entering the fourth quarter. Harrison Butker kicked another field goal to take a 26-21 lead on the Chiefs, and then stuff happened, right? So now we're at the 2-minute warning. All of this is past the 2-minute warning. Bills drive down, and Gabriel Davis catches his 3rd touchdown of the game, along with an amazing 2-point conversion completion to Stephon Diggs, and the Bills now have a 29-26 lead. So that means the Chiefs are probably going to take down the rest of the clock and kick a field goal at the end of regulation to take a win, right? Well, to bring it into overtime or something. Maybe they first score a touchdown. But, no, that didn't really happen because Tyreek Hill just immediately scored a 64-yard touchdown from Patrick Mahomes to take a 33-29 lead. So now the Chiefs are ahead by 4, and the Bills have 1 minute left to drive down the field and score a touchdown. They can't do it, can they? Right? Oh, they did. Gabriel Davis happened, and he scored his 4th touchdown of the game. Yeah, 4. He's kind of good in this game, I think. He also got over 200 yards, so that's pretty nice. So now the Bills are winning 36-33, and this would already be crazy. Guess how many seconds there are left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's the amount of seconds Patrick Mahomes had on the clock just to kick a field goal, just to send it into overtime. They were losing by 3, 36-33 game. And guess what happened? Oh, who would have possibly guessed? Travis Kelce cut a 25-yard pass to somehow get in field goal range because Buffalo's defense, who was apparently number 1 overall in the regular season, decided to die in this game. And, they kicked the field goal. Harrison Butker's leg did not betray him this time. And the tie is now 36-36 at the end of regulation. Now, already, this is an absurd amount of points. Very rarely do you see both teams tied at, pretty much any points over, 30. And 36... just wow, okay? 36-36 at the end of regulation. Coin flip decided the game. Coin flip in overtime decided the game. Chiefs won. First drive, scored a touchdown. And that's the end of the game because, you can't, if the first team scores a touchdown, it's sudden death. So that was the game. Final score, 42-36. Insane game. Kansas City Chiefs somehow knocking off the Buffalo Bills, who somehow knocked off the Kansas City Chiefs, who somehow knocked off the Buffalo Bills. Like, this is, like, there were 25 points in the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. If you count overtime, there was 31. 78 combined points is tied for the second highest of the year. Well, actually, no, third highest. But one of them was a blowout. It doesn't count. There was a 51-29 game, which is 80 combined points, but that was a blowout, so I'm not counting that one. But this game was absolutely insane. Game of the year. Both quarterbacks played perfect. You had 974 yards of total offense in this game. You know how rare it is, like, to have almost 1,000 yards of total offense? These quarterbacks combined for a 74% completion percentage, over 700 passing yards, 7 pass touchdowns, no picks, like 140 rushing yards, I think, and 1 rush touchdown. Like, oh my god, this game was absolutely amazing. I honestly wanted the Bills to win this game, but oh, that's unfortunate. Chiefs punching their ticket somehow, some way into the AFC Championship game, taking down the Bills, who put up a great fight. Gabriel Davis had 200 yards in this game. 4 touchdowns, which was a Bills, I don't know if it was NFL or Bills, but one of those postseason all-time record. So, game of the year, but yep, that's it. And that's it for the divisional round. On to the conference championships. Alright, we're all buckled and ready for the AFC Championship game between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs are favored by 7 in this game, but the Bengals had actually beat them in the regular season. But this time, it's in Arrowhead, and that time, it was in Cincinnati. So, this is prime for a great game, and that's exactly what we got. Alright, first quarter, you had your average first quarter, right? The Chiefs scored a touchdown, and the Bengals scored a field goal. So it's 7-3 at the end of the first quarter, which is pretty average. And then the second quarter is when Patrick Mahomes happened for like the 5th time in a row. Tyreek Hill, that's not Tyreek Hill, that's Travis Kelce scored a touchdown, and then Mecole Hardman scored a touchdown. Both passes from Mahomes. 21-3 was the score before halftime at Kansas City had the lead on Cincinnati by 18 points. So, this is your average Chiefs fan, right? Oh, it's 21-3. What could possibly go wrong? We just lost to the Bengals. Like, oh my god. I don't know how they lost this game, but they did. Samaje Perine caught a 41-yard screen pass touchdown to make it a 21-10 lead at halftime. The Chiefs could have kicked the field goal or probably scored a touchdown if they had the right play call at the end of the half because they had a 1st and goal with like 6 seconds left. But they elected to not kick a field goal, go for a touchdown, and because they had no timeouts, they couldn't stop the clock when they threw a pass behind the line of scrimmage, and it was tackled in bounds. I don't know why they did that, but, So they tacked on no points at the end of the half, so it was 21-10 lead for Kansas City at the halftime. Alright, and then in the third quarter, Money Mac, my favorite person, he can marry my daughter, kicked the field goal to make it 21-13. And then they drove down the field again, and Jamar Chase caught a clutch touchdown pass on 3rd down from Joe Burrow. But then they needed to get a 2-point, and they did to a wide-open receiver. I don't even know who it was. Trent Taylor? Yeah, Trent Taylor. They got the 2-point conversion. And now this game that was 21-3 is now tied at 21. So that happened. And then the Bengals took the lead on a field goal to make it 24-21. So now they scored 21 unanswered points. The Chiefs finally decided to do something on offense in the second half and kick a field goal as time expires to make it a 24-24 game at the end of regulation. Chiefs win the coin toss. Game is over, right? No, it's not because Patrick Mahomes threw an interception 13 seconds into overtime. Yeah, 13 seconds. That sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? Then the Bengals, unsurprisingly, just drove it right down the field and scored a field goal to win the game, 27-24. How? The Cincinnati Bengals are in the Super Bowl. Let me say that again. This team had 4 wins last season. That's the same amount of wins as the Giants had this season. The Giants. Can you imagine how absolutely mind-blowingly insane it would be if the Giants made the Super Bowl next season? Like, I don't know how they did it, but the Cincinnati Bengals, in their second year with Joe Burrow, who's emerging to be one of the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL, are in the Super Bowl. How? Honestly, I don't know, but they did. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs and the Titans and the Raiders to do it. But, yeah, that happened, and somehow the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, and Patrick Mahomes is now 2-2 in the AFC Championship game. Cool, that's it. Now for the NFC Championship game. Alright, the final game I'm going to be reviewing today, and the last game that happened in the playoffs, NFC Championship game between the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. Now, coming into this game, the Rams had a 6-game losing streak when they played the 49ers. 6 games. So if they're going to break their streak against a hated division rival, the NFC Championship game seems like a pretty good place to do it. So let's see what happened. First, Cooper Kupp, my favorite person, well, actually second favorite person behind Evan McPherson, scored 8 touchdowns first to take a 7-0 lead midway through the second quarter. There was no scoring in the first quarter again. And then San Francisco, coming right back, Deebo Samuel scored a 44-yard pass touchdown, again on a screen pass, just like the Samaje Perine one from the Bengals game. And now the game is 7-7, and the 49ers managed to kick a field goal before halftime, and the score is now 10-7 at halftime. Cool. Third quarter only featured 1 touchdown. It was a George Kittle pass from Jimmy Garoppolo, so now the score is 17-7 in favor of San Francisco. They scored 17 unanswered points, and nothing's going to stop them now, right? Yeah, Cooper Kupp can stop you now because he scored his second touchdown of the game to take a 17-14 deficit. They turned a 17-7 deficit into a 17-14 deficit, so that happened. That was early in the fourth quarter. The Rams drove down and kicked a field goal to take a 17-17 tie. I don't know why I said to take, but the game is now tied at 17, so they scored 10 unanswered points. And then they kick another field goal with less than 2 minutes to go. Clutch Matt Gay, he scored a 20, I don't know what I just said, but yeah, the score is now 20-17 in favor of the Rams. 49ers had the ball with one last chance to drive down and score some points to send the game either into overtime or win it. And then Jimmy Garoppolo threw an interception like he so often does, and so does Matthew Stafford. So the final score of this game was Rams 20-14, 17 49ers. So the Rams punching their ticket to Super Bowl 56 to take on the Cincinnati Bengals, who somehow are not 4-11 again. Rams deserve to win this game. I thought the Rams were going to win this game because, they were so far ahead in virtually every stat. They had a lot more offensive yards, they had a lot more first downs, and they had a lot more time of possession. I don't know how this game was so close. San Francisco honestly probably should have gotten blown out in this game. The only thing that was equal was the turnovers, and that was equal. Each team had 1 turnover, but so that happened. Rams over the 49ers, breaking their losing streak against them and punching their ticket to the Super Bowl. So that's everything I had, and this video is a lot longer than I thought it would be. Bro, I swear, every time I make a video, it's always twice the amount of length I thought it was going to be. I thought this video was going to be 10 minutes long. I just always overanalyze things, and no one's going to be watching this video anyway. I don't even know why I make these. People are going to see the title and be like, oh, this looks good, and then see it's 30 minutes long and be like, oh, God. But yeah, Joe Burrow is kind of a god. Here, want to hear another fun fact? Patrick Mahomes, in his career, when he has a 14-point lead, is 0-2 against Joe Burrow and 39-2 against everyone else. So yeah, Joe Burrow is kind of a god. I don't know how Justin Herbert didn't make the playoffs. It's really sad because Brandon Staley is kind of a moron. He called a timeout when he could have just let it run out the clock and tie, which would have been so funny because then Pittsburgh would have been knocked out of the playoffs. And I also like the Chargers. I just want to see the Chargers play in the playoffs. But I'm getting off topic yet again. But yep, that's about it. That is my review of all 12 games that have happened so far in the NFL playoffs. I'm going to make a separate video just for the Super Bowl. I don't know why I named this video Crippling Psychologically, but I don't know. I just thought it would be funny to get views or something. But yep, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this video. This was a lot longer than I thought it would be. And there you go. That's my review of all the games in the playoffs so far. So, that's about it. See ya.